Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Date today is the 6th of September, year of our Lord 2024. Welcome to yet another edition of The Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Hinkle, a.k.a. Motown Noah. Got a medium show, extra medium show for you guys today. It's a weird one. It might go off the rails. I got to tell you guys something. For the first time in I don't know how long, I'm home alone by myself. There's nobody in the house with me right now. The last time I recorded and nobody was home, we did not have a kid yet. So that would have been like, when did she go on maternity leave? Like 5, almost 6 months ago. This is a big moment, okay? Because usually I kind of keep it in check and I don't get too off the rails because I know that she's in the other room and she might be kind of, passing through maybe in the next room or something like that. And so I chamber my shit because I don't want to get checked on it later, right? I just keep it all. I keep all the intrusive thoughts in my head to the best of my abilities. Now, every now and then they slip out, sure. But that means today, if I wanted to stand and do the show, I could stand up here the whole time. Now you guys see that my fit is fucked. I'm wearing a busted fit. I got the green shorts. I'm gonna sip. No, I'm gonna keep it going. I could do anything. There's nobody home. I could do anything I want. What do I want to say right now that I normally wouldn't be able to say? Here's a soft conspiracy. How about the fact that the fucking CIA bullshit? How about that? How about that one? How about here's a crazy one. How about no. Okay, let's get into today's show. I know some of you are going to be wondering, hey, why isn't there a Thursday Night Football, Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens recap? Football is officially back on the menu, kicking off in Kansas City, and Nick just didn't talk about it? Yeah, I had to tape this show early, and with the night games, like, it's going to fuck up my schedule to have to stay up that late, record, edit a show, all of it. So I got to do it beforehand, which is actually important to note. I will reiterate this on Sunday, or rather for Monday show. There's not going to be a Lions-Rams segment because it's the Sunday night game. And if we, for some reason, lose that game, I'm not going to want to record a show. So as much as you want that reaction out of me, I don't know. Maybe we'll see how it goes, but plan on there being... We'll cover all of the games except for the Lions and the Rams for Monday's show because I just, all right, cool. We'll hammer that home again. We'll figure something out for it, maybe. So, okay, well, what the hell are we actually doing today then? I don't know. There's literally nothing going on in sports. So we're going to kind of do almost like, it's like a Lifeline episode. Yeah, oh, that's good. That's snappy for the title. That'll draw some clicks. I was talking to Jacob, a.k.a. Rusty Buckets, and Alex Hoops, and producer extraordinaire Rudy St. Clair about this. Just yesterday when we were recording the shoot around, after the show, I was like, honest to God, the off season is my favorite thing in the world, like for the NBA, because there's zero pressure on me to watch the Pistons or to be invested in what's going on. Even when I punt on the season, like I still know what's going on just through box scores and like reading articles and then like Reddit and shit like that. So I at least have a pulse on the team, but I'm not watching the games. But when it's the off season, I don't have to. It's totally hands off for me. Now the consequence of that is that less and less people will watch the show as this show devolves into, whatever it becomes in the off season. But that's endearing to me. I like that because then it's even less pressure on me. There already wasn't that many people, and I'm not trying to be one of those people who's like, oh man, nobody listens to the show. If I get 1.5 on a single episode. Over 1,000 people, just try to quantify that. Picture all those people sitting in a room listening to your show at the same time. It's a fucking lot of people, right? And then you factor in the Spotify numbers too. We're doing crazy numbers over on Spotify. Shout out to the Spotify crew. Still don't know where you guys are leaving comments. Again, I approve all of them. Contrary to what motherfuckers think in the YouTube comments, if there's anything that I need to stop, let me dial this one back a little bit. Here's something that fucking bothers me. And there was a little bit of a miscommunication about this in the previous episode. So the guy who's going to think that I'm saying this because of him, I'm not saying it because of you. I say that I approve all of the Spotify comments because I do. Motherfuckers think in the YouTube comments that I'm in the fucking walls deleting comments if somebody says something crazy to me or that I would disagree with, and so I'm just going to delete it. You guys say insane shit to me all the time, and I leave those comments up. Now, what I would say is that clearly YouTube's like bot for like bullshit comment detectors is kind of out of whack, and all the time comments just like don't actually appear. And so I've even left like a comment that I just intend to leave as the pinned one. I hit publish, and then I like go to pin it and it's just gone. It's just not there. Like it doesn't even go up on the thing. So if you are ever one of those, why did you delete my comment, ass bitches, stop. Because it doesn't happen. Now it has happened. It has happened in the past. If you talk about my son or my girlfriend, then I'm like, I don't care what it is. It's going to get deleted because it's just weird and it makes me uncomfortable. And that's a hard boundary for me, which is not unreasonable. All right. So, okay, what's going on in the world? What's going on in sports? Well, I said there's nothing. There's a half story out there somewhere where, and I'm a little fuzzy on the details, so I kind of want to wait for this one to unfold before I talk about it, because the language in it is really confusing to me. But I also don't think, waiting the weekend, we're going to get any information on this. So if you haven't seen this and you haven't heard about this, the state of New Jersey, or rather a city in New Jersey, Camden, I think is where it is, sent a letter to the Philadelphia 76ers being like, hey, your guys' lease at Wells Fargo is up in 2031. It doesn't look like you guys are going to get a new stadium, right? You guys are having trouble figuring out the logistics of that. Because I guess the Sixers are owned, or rather like an investment firm has a controlling stake in the team. And so they're the ones who are being sent this communication. And basically this investment firm could get 2 tax credits worth $400 million each if they moved to New Jersey. The Philadelphia 76ers moved to New Jersey when their lease at Wells Fargo is up, because again, they can't get a stadium built in the city center. And so now but then there's this the problem that comes up every time there's a new stadium that wants to be built is that the residents in Camden, New Jersey are like, well, you're going to build it right outside of Chinatown, and then like gentrification is going to happen. Yeah, probably will. Probably will. It's kind of like the Bears right now in our area. One of the locations that they've flirted with building their new stadium is like right outside of our house. And so when they start to build it, if that ever comes to fruition, we'll just be able to see it. Now, what comes with that is that our area is going to get sweet as hell. All right. So it's kind of that juxtaposition of like, yes, gentrification bad, but I'll have a 7-Eleven. That's cool. And if they knock down housing, well, they couldn't around here. They couldn't knock down housing. They would, there's no way. No, they wouldn't be able to do that. They just wouldn't. The city would riot. They wouldn't be able to do that. So yeah, we'd be fine. I would just have like more 7-Elevens and like sports bars and shit like that. Fuck yeah, let's do it. Let's gentrify the shit out of this area. But in this case, it's probably not good, right? So I guess where I'm confused about it is, and I bumped the table there. I apologize if that picked up. What I'm confused about is, so that they're going to pay for their own stadium, I guess, because they would have $800 million in tax credits going to this new stadium. But it's also been communicated that the citizens in the immediate area, their taxes would not be affected by this, and that their tax dollars would not be going to this stadium, and that it would be self-funded. So I'm kind of like, and then the other part of this is, and by the way, none of this is going to fucking happen. And when I say, well, waiting the weekend won't give me any more clarity on this. Yeah, because what we're talking about is 7 years in the future. And by then, whatever happens with the Sixers, like they will get a new fucking stadium and they will stay in Philadelphia. Could you imagine, however, if we entertained the alternate reality, the branched off timeline where the Sixers play in Jersey and you already have at Sixers home games like 60-40 Knicks fans when they play each other? Send their ass to New Jersey and let's fucking find out what that's going to look like. Is that a 75-25 split? Are we going 80-20 Knicks fans if there's another team in New Jersey and it's the Sixers of all teams? And then like, what does that become? Because I don't really remember if there was like a rivalry between the New Jersey Nets and the Sixers. Surely there was. AI and like Jason Kidd. Surely there was something there. It's just before my time, so I don't know. Would those fans be willing and Joel Embiid certainly has that New Jersey troll energy too. That just makes too much sense. But the whole thing I'm a little bit disillusioned by. Again, it's just the language in all of this that I just don't get it. I don't really get it. So, okay, so what else are we going to do today? Nick, you got that out of the way. Got some miscellaneous emails here and there, and they're all going to be more on the serious side because, honestly, I mean, you should watch Michigan and Texas this Saturday. You should watch the Lions play on Sunday night, and outside of that, whatever you guys want to do. I don't need to give you any direction. So let's jump into some emails. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email will be available in the description wherever it is that you listed this program. This one comes into us from Andrew. We got this about a week ago. I forgot to read it. Hey, Nick, got a bit of a mixed bag of emails, which I compiled into one. Let me know if any of these interest you. We're going to do all of them. Number one, a couple of episodes ago, you were talking about listening to Lil Yachty while biking. Do you mean Lil Boat Yachty or Let's Start Here psychedelic rock Yachty? I don't mean either of those. I mean whatever shit Yachty has been on for like the last 365 days. Honestly, if we could trace it back to Poland, everything that, well, didn't Let's Start Here come out after Poland? What was the timeline on that? But just like the weird experimental rap shit that he's been doing for the last year, like he puts out like one song basically every month. The last one was Let's Get On the Ass. That's what it is. Rules. Like just the weird stuff that he does with his voice. The track that he did with Southside was one. Tesla is great. Solo Step and Creep Boy is great. All of the Creep Boys shit and the drama that's going on with that, I don't really care. Man, I dressed you guys. I picked out outfits for all of you. I don't know what he's upset about. I didn't realize that I'm kind of not alone in this. I didn't realize that Yachty wasn't just universally that bitch to people. Whoops. A little bit of a blind spot for me, I guess. He rules. Absolutely rules. But also, Let's Start Here is great. You can pick it apart if you want. But it was the attempt that I think it was just really bold. And it was a lane that you didn't expect him to get into at a time that you're just like, whoa, it just was really, it was like a total blindsiding. That's probably a better word for that. He's been awesome, man. And then the second thing, Zachary Rissache did a really awful thing on draft night. If you look very closely at the footage, you see him walk onto the stage, pick up the draft hat, and not put it on his head. Am I having amnesia, or is he the first draft pick in NBA history to not put the goddamn hat on? This is basically my Roman Empire, and I had to share it because it's driving me crazy. Andrew, can I tell you something? This email kept me up at night. And I read that part to my girlfriend yesterday, and she laughed out loud, and she was like, that person gets the show. You do, because this is the investigative shit that we do around here. So I did the homework, and I looked at every single draft that I could find on YouTube. I didn't go that deep. Going back to 2000 and I think it was 6. And let me tell you what I found. Zachary Rissache is the only player, I'm assuming, at least until 2006, but we're just going to say fuck it, in NBA history to not put on the hat. You're absolutely right. Now, for posterity, who was the fastest to put on their hat? I didn't time it. It was all an eyeball thing, but I did all of them 2024 to like 2006 within like a 15-minute span. So I was on top of all of it in a really short amount of time. I'm giving you guys a minute to guess. Which number one pick was the fastest to put on their draft hat? Well, folks, if you guessed Andrea Bargnani, you were right. He had that shit on immediately, like literally immediately. And the funniest thing is if you go back on YouTube, the video's uploaded literally like 17 years ago. If you watch it, first of all, it's a fucking slideshow. And the highest quality that you can watch it in is 240p. You go on settings, select resolution. It's 240 or 144. Jesus. It's brutal. But Bargnani put that shit on immediately. Rissache did not at all, like literally at all. And my thing, because my brain immediately went to maybe it's just because he's European and he's weird and they just don't wear hats like that. So they just sneaky. They're starting to, but not in the way that we do. Right. Like me, I wear hats every single day just because they look sick. But then I was like, well, no, because the number one pick a year ago was Victor Wembanyama. He put that shit on immediately. So what's the deal, Rissache? Great call out by you, Andrew, that you nailed that because you're right. He's the only one. All right, so what's the third thing you said? Number 3. A week or two ago, I was listening to the Hoop Collective podcast hosted by Brian Windhorst and Tim McMahon. Oh, okay. Hosted by Brian Windhorst. And Tim McMahon said, Skibbity Riz, Ohio, at the beginning of the Cavs segment. Does that count as bad podcast etiquette? Because it really derailed the rest of the episode for me. I don't think it's bad etiquette. I just think it's dumb. It's a funny attempt. It's funny. It's a good attempt, right? But I find it more annoying that people are like disillusioned by Gen Z slang, as if like we didn't all go through the same, not iterations of that, but we all fuck with the language, right? We all create our own slang. Some of us steal slang, right? Which is a whole different conversation of like the people. I would need to actually spend time thinking about this before I just start saying shit. But the way that slang is stolen and like reworked and then run into the ground and becomes the most annoying shit in the world. To be honest with you guys, I still don't know what the fuck skibbity means. I still don't know what that means. But everything else, like, yeah, I understand the lingo. I'm just kind of like, yeah, they're kids and they're dumb and they're weird. Like real Gen Z, like born between 2003 and like 2006, those fuckers are weird. And COVID, and I mean that in an endearing way, by the way, because they are just like beaten down by everything being bad constantly because of how online they are. Not that it's exclusive to, you know, that demographic, but for all intents and purposes, right? Because this is the same generation that when they're going through super formative years, like middle school, high school shit, COVID happened. And so suddenly like this social environment that you're going to every single day, well, 5 days a week, 9 months out of the year, you're just not there for like a year and a half. And you just like don't get to see those people and they get like shut in. And it just, when we look back on it and there's like better language to communicate what that did to them psychologically, I'm going to be really, maybe there's material on it now. If there is, and you kind of get what I'm saying and you know where to find something like that, please send it my way. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically, email available in the description, wherever it is that you listen to this program. Now, to be fair, yes, it fucked with all of us, but you know what I mean? Like their brains are still figuring out what is going on in the world. And so socially, when you get stunted in that way, yeah, it just creates a bunch of fucking really weird kids, but they're really funny. And there's a lot of you guys actually that are listening to this show that kind of fit in that age range. And I'm going to be curious. So please let me know if you feel that what I just said is facts, is hashtag facts. Nothing, you know, I don't get pissed off at comments very much. But a guy said, like 2 months ago, I said something like that where I was like, hashtag facts. I said hashtag something. And he was like very earnestly trying to tell me that hashtag actually isn't cool anymore. And like, fuck you. Shut up. Let's move on to a different email. This one comes into us from Bobo. So this is kind of where we start to do the lifeline shit. You guys, in response to the previous episode where we talked about identity and, you know, issues in the workplace, you guys, your response to that was sending in a lot of similar emails. And I don't mean that in a rude way. I'm just saying that's kind of what the inbox was this week. And a lot of the times the inbox dictates the show. We are very much at the mercy of whatever you guys send in. And then, yeah, so I had to sift through, you know, which ones I felt like I could give you guys something on. And that's not to say that the people whose emails I don't read, that your problems don't matter. They do matter. It's just kind of like what we talked about, where if I don't feel like I have good advice for you, I don't want to just say all your business and then be like, well, anyways, because that just feels really rude. So anyways, Bobo, welcome to the show. Subject line, directionlessness. Directionlessness. I graduated from high school over a year ago, and ever since have felt so directionless in every pathway. I was incredibly blessed for my high school to have an audio production pipeline, and I was able to find out exactly what I want to do for the rest of my life by the time I was 16. I spent all of my energy in this, coming back to help TA the class as one of my electives, etc. It's something I truly love. Your last episode's discussion really resonated with me because I too hated the mundanity of public schooling, and this class was legitimately the only reason I was able to do all 4 years. Anyways, after my graduation, I tried college with an audio major and couldn't even last a month. I dropped out, before the first exam even happened. All of the classes felt the exact same pointlessness as high school, and I knew I couldn't handle the burden of being both away from all of my friends and having to do 2 years of shit that I hated. Ever since I dropped out, I've been applying for things every single day, and no one has gotten back to me. I have a good resume, a bunch of credits, even a student Emmy as a producer to my name, all with a recommendation from my professor who is on the Grammy committee. And I have gotten maybe 3 interviews in 365 days. Other than working part-time getting paid pretty shit by just bands that I know, I've done nothing. Audio production truly is my passion, and I'm going to do it if it kills me, but I can't help but feel hopeless. I don't have the money to go back to school without scholarships, which are all gone now. No one will hire me despite a good resume, presumably just because I'm 19 and they think I don't know shit. Even though I've put my heart and soul into this for years now. I would get a job flipping burgers or whatever, but just with the complications of asking off or having to be in early, I wouldn't be able to do any of the part-time work I do now, which is the only thing giving me hope to actually keep trying. Ever since my dad passed, I genuinely just can't bring myself to do such mundane, pointless things. I only have so much time, and I'll be damned if I spend it toiling away for some billionaire's bottom line. Trauma dump aside, the point of this email, as someone who is also in a creative field, how did/do you stay hopeful when it isn't going the way that you want? When a video underperforms, for example. Bobo, let's reverse engineer this email. I'm going to give you a little bit of pushback up front, okay? So the quote here is, I only have so much time, and I'll be damned if I spend it toiling away for some billionaire's bottom line. I don't think that's a fair mindset to have about anything. And just reading the email, especially with your father passing, I understand why you would be feeling cynical and how that cynicism kind of bleeds out into, well, everything in your life. Toiling away for some billionaire's bottom line. Find a job where you're not doing that. Find a job where you can convince yourself that you can trace it all the way to the top, and at the end of the day, you're not like working for somebody else. Oh, well, I could be working for myself. Go do that then. Go do that then. And then you're not working for a billionaire, right? But that's the problem, is you need to start somewhere. Yes, the trendy, like, hipster fucking Twitter wisdom would tell you that, like, billionaires are fucking awful, which they are, and that, like, I'd rather fucking jump off a bridge than work for a billionaire. No one would have a job. No one would have a job. And when it comes to doing shit like, flipping burgers on a line or something like that, you're dunking some chicken fries in the vat at Burger King, there's no shame in that, right? If that's what you have to do. And I very much empathize with not feeling like you can take on a job like that because it will impede your ability to do the shit that you actually want to do because the amount of time that you would have to request off. And like, it's just not always going to work out in your favor. That's how this goes sometimes though, man. Right. So I know you said, I just want to actually, let me clock that really quick just for you, Bobo. You included they, them at the end of your email. I will be using man, dude, and brother interchangeably. Those are all gender neutral terms. I don't give a fuck about what anybody tells me. Okay. So I did read what you said, but it just happens. Okay. So, okay, let's get back to it. There was something else that you said in here. Can I give you guys a soft conspiracy theory? Bobo, you might agree with me on this. You've had 3 job interviews in the last 365 days. I believe you. I believe that you're not being hyperbolic. My soft conspiracy theory here is that these companies are like hoarding applications for, I don't know why. I don't think that data would be valuable. But for as much as you hear that like the job market is like open and that people are trying to hire, we've been hearing that since COVID, that like everyone's hiring. Everyone's hiring. But if you go out and you fill out a bunch of applications, you're fucking not going to hear anything. I saw a thing the other day, I think it was on Reddit, where it was like, it was actually at Burger King. It was like 30 people in the dining area, and they were all applying for one job. And you're like, huh? You're like, what? How do you find how do you dig deep when something's not going your way? Like when a video underperforms, I'm not the person to ask about that. All my videos underperform. And so that shit just doesn't bother me because I'd rather exist in obscurity than anything else, which is kind of where I'm going to maybe lose you a little bit. I guess something else that I want to say to you is I don't, this doesn't feel like the appropriate thing to say to you is just reiterating another thing that I said in the previous episode about it. Like, it's okay to eat shit for a few years while you figure out what you want to do, because you know what you want to do. You've identified it, but it's about acquiring the means to pursue it in a way that is fulfilling for you, right? You have to make sacrifices. You're 19 years old. So you're not going to be able to just jump headfirst into this. And you're going to have to kind of, even if you have the credentials for it, right? But even then, I think we kind of run into the issue that maybe we did in the previous one of just check yourself a little bit. You may be accomplished. The world doesn't care about that right now, though, right? You just have to keep nose to the grindstone. You have to keep moving forward, build up that resume even more, right? So how do you do that? In your field, I don't know. So I don't want to give too much advice on that front. But even going back to what I said at the beginning, I don't know if this is helpful, but like, take that shitty job. Take that shitty job. If it's a means to an end, that's fine. Right? You're going to not be able to, you're going to request a day off, and your manager, your shift lead is going to be like, oh no, actually we don't have that much coverage that day. So you're actually going to be coming in, or like, you're going to have plans to do something. It's your day off, and then you're going to get called in for a shift. It happens. It happens. It will fuel you though. It will. And man, it's not going to feel great when it's happening in real time, but that shit's going to mold you. It's going to harden you. I'm not trying to sound like the labor machine, right? Where I'm like, dude, no, you have to go to work and you have to do all of this. You do, though. You do. And as much as it might stink, the responsible thing to do here, I think, in your position, isn't to just blindly, which you're not saying you're going to do, is to just blindly pursue this thing when you don't have like a, I'm really trying to help you because I don't think this is good advice at all. Anything that I've said so far. Do you know where you want to end up? Right? 10 years from now, what's the ideal job? How do you get there? Where do you need to be in 3 years in order to get to that 10-year plan? Right? It's hard to ask you that question when you're 19 years old. Because even if you think that you got all this shit figured out, and I'm not trying to sound like all the people who are rejecting you, because to your point, it is very shitty when you're 18, 19, 20, and people are like, oh, well, you're a kid. You don't fucking know anything. Even if it's like a little bit true, because you don't have that much perspective, because all you've known is like K through 12 and like a little bit of like college, you do still have experiences, and those experiences are still valid, right? It's hard to ask you to lay out the next 10 years of your life, but just do baby steps. Where do I need to be in a year in order to feel fulfilled? And how do I obtain that? If it's working for, you're going to have to stomach working for the billionaire's bottom line. That's the one thing I'm going to circle back to. It's not worth fixating on that because I think it's a little bit annoying of me to do it. It's not the point of your email. But it's a mindset thing. Right? Because when that cynicism, like we talked about at the beginning, bleeds into everything else, it's going to be even harder to motivate yourself. That's why I have bad shows. That's why I have episodes where I'm really combative to myself. I'm fighting fucking ghosts. I dig myself a hole. I create as many straw mans as I can. And then I wonder, why the fuck was this a bad 60 minutes? It's because I went into it in a bad mood and I wasn't prepared. And when I'm in that mode and I'm cynical, I'm like, fuck this show. It sucks. I suck. I'm not good at this. You should turn this off. Wasn't there an episode a couple of months ago where I was in such a mood that I was like, hey, this episode's going to be really bad. Leave a timestamp down in the comments to let me know when you turned it off, which, by the way, a lot of you did. And what was weird is that it almost acted as like positive reinforcement for me, because I was like, oh, wow, people actually held me accountable on that one. And then I tried to make the next show as kick-ass as I could. So my way of sort of motivating myself is almost by asking you guys. It's like a controlled bullying situation, right? Where I'm okay with you saying something shitty about me because I'm the one asking you to say it. And this isn't going to be helpful to you because I think it's just a little bit too specific to me. But I hope anything that I said with you resonated, because I am rooting for you, and I feel like maybe I was a little bit of an asshole to you. I really was not trying to be. Bobo, you're amazing. You're going to do amazing things. All right? How about this one? How about this one from Preston? copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. Preston, welcome to the show. Subject line, trip to Spain and more. I'm a 19-year-old dude who graduated in 2023. During my junior year of high school, I met a foreign exchange student. She slowly became my best friend, and I then happened to break up with my girlfriend, and soon enough, we started dating. Fast forward to the summer after my senior year, I get my passport and I fly to Germany for a month. It was one of the coolest experiences of my life, saving up for a plane ticket and leaving the country for the first time. She has been back to the States twice to stay with me at my parents' house. Obviously, I'm super young and don't know what I want in life, but I'm pretty confident that I want her in it. She's my best friend, and our relationship is really good. My original plan after high school was to go to school for exercise science, but I hated it, and I dropped out almost immediately. Now I'm a year removed from working and living at home. I'm leaning towards joining the Air Force. You work for 1 weekend a month and they'll pay you 100% of your college. They will pay for 100% of your college. But until then, I'm working to save for a trip to Spain. Hell yes, brother. The German, that's a funny way to refer to your betrothed. The German is going to college there, so I'm going to visit during Christmas. Once I'm in Spain, we'll stay there for a week, fly to Germany for 2 weeks to stay with her parents, then fly back to Spain for another week before I go home. I am super in love with her, and I feel like if it hasn't changed yet, I should be in the clear. We've gone through periods of over 6 months of not being able to see each other. It's obviously a very complicated situation that most people never deal with. So there's no one I've really gone to for asking for advice, but I love you. Well, thank you for all of this. And that's gonna do it. Now, I will say, Preston did something here that I think only one or two of you have ever done before. Can I make a formal request that this is a thing moving forward? The last time I asked you guys to include ages to help me a little bit with the perspective, you guys have nailed that, and you guys include your ages now. If you send in a relationship email like this one, Preston attached 3 photos of them at the end. I love this. This is I'm not going to show it because that's not cool. This is a beautiful couple. All right. Preston, stay with this woman forever. You guys look amazing. All right. And it honestly helps me humanize you guys a little bit instead of it just being a bunch of words. And then I'm just like, I wonder what this person looks like. Because that's where my brain goes to. And then I create a character in my head. Like Tom, the Wizards fan who always emails in from the bathroom. Haven't heard from him in a while. Tom, are you good? Are you good? You don't have to send an email if you don't got anything to say, but I just haven't heard from you, and I feel like maybe a week or two. Are you not on vacation? He must be at home, and he doesn't email from the bathroom at home. But in my head, I think I know what Tom looks like, but the truth is I have no idea, right? The characters of the show, I always wonder. But you guys are beautiful. So, okay, let's tackle this. I'm going to be corny. You guys mind? On some real Nebraska shit. No JJ Redick shit, but I was watching Interstellar the other day, and I haven't watched it from beginning to end. And this is going somewhere, Preston. Hold on. This is still about you. I didn't just forget about your entire email. And it's the first time I've watched it truly beginning to end in a couple of years, because usually when I turn it on, I just skip around all the good parts. I'm like, boo, the first act. Get to the black hole. We watched it beginning to end, though, and I always thought that the whole love thing about that movie was really fucking stupid. It's the most beautiful shit I've ever seen in my life. I don't know if it's like a fatherhood thing that I'm just a little bit softened by it now. And I was blown away by it. And so the genesis of that story was that love is such a powerful thing. It transcends time. It transcends space and all these dimensions. And you'll go across the fucking universe fuck, I was on a roll. Because of love, right? What you guys are doing is the closest thing to that we can do on our planet. Going 6 months at a time without seeing each other? Sure, FaceTime exists. You live in the 21st century. It's probably the easiest, quote unquote, that it's ever been to have those long distance relationships. But it's one thing when you're long distance because you're 4 hours apart and you go to different schools or whatever it is. It's a completely other thing to be on 2 different continents in 2 completely different time zones and to keep that relationship up for 6 months and to still feel the same way about each other, by the way. If that's not wavering, and I imagine on the Germans' end, it's not either, I don't think this is a conversation at all. I think you did it. You might have done it. Seriously. Usually, I'm a little bit cynical about relationships when they're formed, you know, in high school, and then you go off to college and it's like, oh, well, this thing, and it's so hard. Usually I'm just kind of like, fucking end it, break it off. Like, there's just no, but it's selfish of me to do that. It's weird of me to do that. I've only ever known Maddie, ever. This will be 10 years. Sure, we had some breaks, you know, on and off. That we spent some time apart here and there. We weren't without our fights and our faults. But at the end of the day, she's the only woman that I've ever been with. And then even, you know, it extends beyond that. My grandparents, those are the only people that's the only relationship. I don't know if it's the only relationship they've ever been in, but they've been married for, this year is 60 years, right? I think this year is 60 years. Let me say that again. My grandparents have been married for 60 years. So my life is really those relationships where it's like you found your person young and you stayed with them, you figured it out, and that was just your person for life. It sounds like that's what you did here, and I don't have a ton else to say to you other than, like, good for fucking you, dude. Seriously, good for you. All right, a little bit of a rapid, like, record scratch freeze frame. You're probably wondering how we got here. Why did Nick just stop talking? Because I got from, I don't know where I'm going to end up cutting that off, but I was, like, in the middle of making another point, and then it just stopped recording, and then I tried to start recording again, and then it just didn't work. And then I opened back the email. I opened the email back up for, like, a point of reference so I could kind of, like, get back in the swing. And once again, the email just won't open. I just can't open the email, which means, once again, we are at the point in the coping hour where I have to wing it. I have to be Malika Andrews calling an earthquake. I have to call an audible. The microphone in my quarterback helmet is out, and I gotta. We don't got signal callers on the sidelines, and I gotta wing it. I gotta wing it. Clear out. Everybody get the fuck out of the way. All right, let's do the rest of the show. Jacob, aka Rusty Buckets, put out a video where he was like, here are my biggest surprise teams, like teams that, you know, could really not necessarily like even make the playoffs. Like a team that he put on there was the Pistons, right? Because they could win 30 games this year. I think that would surprise some people if they actually looked like an NBA team this year. They don't have to do that much to surprise people, right? And I won't spoil the end of the video, but that was kind of the essence of it. So then I was like, okay, so what's the antithesis of that? I was like, what if, and I guess I'm just gonna do the fucking segment, I guess. I kind of settled on what are the teams that are like the reverse surprises, where they're just exactly who you think they were. Again, for better or for worse. And what would that list look like? I don't know. Let's kind of talk about it. The Pelicans, a team that he put as a surprise team, a potential surprise team. I'm really excited to watch them, but I think they're just going to be like good. That's it. I think we're going to watch them, and I don't want to, you know, say they're going to get decimated by injuries, but they do have a lot of guys on that team that habitually get hurt. It's like they're getting paid just to go out there and get hurt. Should we do the Zion thing first? God damn, if there's not a player in the NBA who I just want it to work so bad. Oh my God, I want it to work so bad with Zion. And it did last year, by the way. He played like all of the games and he was awesome. And then apparently lost a bunch of weight and grew a beard. I don't like the beard. I don't know where you guys are at with the Zion beard. Maybe when he's like in uniform and like doing some crazy hezzy tweens. He doesn't really hezzy tween, but he's doing that like thunderous slam that he always likes to do right out of the basket. Maybe a nasty putback. Maybe the beard will look cool. Maybe a nice little photo angle of it. I don't know. We'll see. He was doing where the fuck was he? He was in China recently. He's on the Great Wall of China. And the guy was having like a moment, like a cathartic moment. Like it was a spiritual journey that he was on. And it was actually, it sounds like I'm shitting on him. I'm not. It was actually really cool to see. And a line that he had that was, I actually thought kind of profound is he was like, basketball brought me here. But it wasn't corny. Like he just kind of said it to himself. And it was, he's like, that's just, that perspective is so cool to see where he's like, dog, like I have the coolest job in the world. And now I'm in like this really tranquil moment that I otherwise wouldn't be at if I didn't excel at this sport. And just being appreciative of what you do have, I think in not just the NBA, but in sports is rare. And so to see that humbleness from him, I think was really, really cool. And so I'm rooting for him. And I still don't know what's going on with Brandon Ingram, if people want him or not. I learned that Jordan Hawkins is bad. I thought Jordan Hawkins was good. The problem, here's an interesting thing about the Pelicans. I'm realizing this in real time. Whether it's Jordan Hawkins, Dyson Daniels, There's got to be another one in there. There is. Who is it? I don't know who it is. It's a guard. It's like what I know about them is still just their pre-draft stuff, and I don't actually know. I don't know if there's... But yeah, Jordan Hawkins is bad, I guess. I just don't know that the Pelicans are going to be... God damn, this segment's going to be bad. Let's move on to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Who did they lose? They lost Kyle Anderson? I don't care. Nah, I can't do this segment. I can't do this. I can't do this. Stick with it. Stick with it. Do the segment. Teams that you think they're going to be exactly who you think they are. You want the Zag? I don't mean it. No, I don't. I was going to say the Pistons, but I don't mean it. I've been thinking about locking myself in a room and taking out the old iPad and forcing myself to watch Jaden Ivey highlights for like an hour. At least like 30 minutes. Like really do it. Like go to NBA.com and like shot track. Like watch possession by possession like what he's doing. Don't even just watch the highlights, because if I watch the highlights, that's how you trick yourself. Oh, you're going to watch a compilation of all of someone's best plays? Yeah, you're going to come away thinking that they're pretty fucking good, right? Because I don't know what it is about him that I'm too hater-pilled. I have blinders on. And if I had to identify anything, I think it's that I'm just bitter that we drafted him, because I wanted Keegan Murray, who went one pick before Jaden Ivey. And then my second guy was Benedict Mathurin, who went one pick after Jaden Ivey. So I was like, oh, okay. Which isn't fair for me to do that. I'm the one who historically hates the people who are like, oh, we drafted Luke Kennard and we could have had Donovan Mitchell. So could fucking like 10 other teams. So could they have, and they did not draft him. And Pistons fans are well, I don't want to say they're the worst about it, but we've certainly been tortured by it, even going back 20 years to the Darko stuff. And so those conversations are always boring to me, but I didn't like him at Purdue. The bull in a china shop shit like isn't fun to me. And what's cool is that he's willing to use his body around the rim, something that another thing we were talking about during the shoot around, maybe it was before, I don't think it's actually in the episode, is just Cade and how he kind of doesn't really like contact at the rim. And for a guy who's as big as he is, like you're 6'8", 6'7", and you just like won't put a body into someone, and like you also don't elevate that much. But then we are also, and I'm dumb. Like I'm just stupid, because I was explaining to Alex Hoops, like, yeah, man, you cite those low assist numbers and like it's such a cherry pick stat, because even dating back to Oklahoma State, I remember pre-draft watching like a 20 to 30 minute supercut of all of the blown assist opportunities that Cade would dish out to his teammates. Half of them were wide open shots and dudes just couldn't knock stuff down. So coming out of Oklahoma State, people were like, oh no, he's not a dynamic playmaker. Like look at his low assist numbers. And then he comes to fucking Detroit and there's nobody around him. There's nobody around him and he has low assist numbers. Yeah, except for the fact that he averaged 7 a game last year. You're like, oh, whoops. And then the number that Alex said, I think he had like 12 or 13 assist opportunities per game. So it's like you cut a few of those out. Okay, well now we go into this season. Cade is a streaky three-point shooter, but he's a good three-point shooter. He's a borderline lights out from mid-range. Hey, I don't have the numbers in front of me. Alex Hoops actually just put out a video about Cade. You can go check that out. His channel's Alex Hoops. You come into this season, even if he doesn't want contact around the rim, that's fine, because he's got Malik Beasley. He's got Tim Hardaway. He's got Tobias Harris. He's got Simone Fontecchio. You're like, huh? You're like, what? Are we going? Where's the All-Star game this year? I don't know where it is. Is he going to the All-Star game? I think he might. We've talked about it on the show in recent weeks. I think he might be really, really good this year. And so that's really exciting. Even 2K gave him an 86. That's a good player. That's a good player. You look at his mid-range shit, it's like on par with Luka. You're like, huh? You're like, what? You're rubbing your eyes like a Looney Tunes character. Who is this guy? And then his number 2 is Jaden Ivey, and you're just like, oh. And I don't know when the Suns are going to break up. But can the Devin Booker trade market just fucking speed up? Can we just get there? Because in some way, just feels like Bradley Beal 2.0. And there's some irony in there considering their teammates now. The difference being Devin Booker does not and has never flirted with the idea of going somewhere else the same way that, or rather the way that Bradley Beal would every single time it was time for him to sign an extension, or he was just bored and hurt and wasn't playing. It was like, yeah, I don't know what my future looks like here. And we did that for like fucking 8 years before he finally left. And then at that point I didn't care, because at the end of the day, that's what I am most passionate about. I could hardly give a fuck about what happens on the court. I'm going to watch all the games and I'm going to have a good time doing it. But I want to know narratively what are the consequences of this thing. And narratively, I got bored of Bradley Beal. I don't want to play with you anymore. When's it going to happen with Devin Booker? When? Did you guys see that clip he had? He was like shooting around. And if I just verbalize the clip, it's not going to be interesting. But he someone called a foul on him. He's just like doing pickup. And he was like, Chris Paul was in the background and he puts up a three and what did he say? He said something really cool and then he rips the net. It was so cool that I think it absolved him of getting mad about sending double teams in a pickup game. Remember when that was the end of the world and everybody hated Devin Booker? People really didn't like him for a few years. And the zeitgeist has kind of flipped on him a lot. Did they flip on him? No, I was going to say the Rudy Gobert thing is just in its own tier. It's kind of its own thing. How people are like, is Rudy Gobert awesome? Yeah, he is. He's awesome. Love him. I have not only flipped on Rudy Gobert, but I now believe in my heart of hearts that him touching all of the microphones and being patient zero is the funniest moment in NBA history. I believe it. In NBA history. A global pandemic who wasn't started by Rudy Gobert, but for all intents and purposes, he was the first American-based person of note to contract the virus. And then immediately Donovan Mitchell gets it, and then Christian Wood gets it, and then the league is shut down, and then the world is shut down. Remember that feeling? I'm not trying to do COVID nostalgia, because I was actually talking to my girlfriend about this earlier. We were just like talking to our son, and I was like, dude, one day he's going to ask us about COVID. And he's going to be like, what was that like? And then he's going to have to go to school one day. And he's going to be like, I wish there was a pandemic now so I wouldn't have to go to school. That's going to be so annoying. It's going to be like, no, it actually wasn't that cool. It wasn't. And I hate the COVID nostalgia shit so much. But what if stomach dropping feeling that was, the Woj notification that the NBA is shut down. Because that was like the real oh shit moment, was when sports leagues are like, we can't in good faith continue to play these games because we don't even, you know what I mean? That was crazy. I think it was maybe even that, it couldn't have been that night. I think it was the next morning that we went to the grocery store just like everybody else. And so we walked to the grocery store, and even by, 10 o'clock in the morning, ransacked, gone. Now, we got lucky. Did you guys have a problem with toilet paper? Because I know that was kind of people were just like hoarding toilet paper. We didn't have a problem with that. We just had more of an issue with like actual food and like vegetables and like frozen shit. That was all gone. You know what else I was thinking about not even the other day. This was like an hour ago. So the little guys from A Quiet Place, that universe. Okay, well, we live on the 16th floor. And I said to her, I get that their whole deal is that their hearing is really good. But I was like, 16th floor? Like, we're fine, right? Our previous place was a basement level apartment. We're cooked. It's wraps. But I was like, 16th floor, we could sit out on the balcony and have our coffee and be like, oh, look at those fuckers down there. Like, they're about to get eaten. It's the same thing with a zombie apocalypse. I wouldn't be that worried about it. Which is a whole can of worms that I don't know if I've done before. But are we sure that world governments would have issues with zombies? Are we sure? That's, to me, the least believable thing about all of these movies and all of these TV shows and comics and literature. Because if it's the Walking Dead zombies, dog, the World War Z zombies go Mach 5. At that point, it's wraps. It's deuces from us. The 16th floor, we're on the ground in 30 seconds. Respectfully. Like, we're not doing that. We're aligned in that way. This plan has been communicated, right? But like the Walking Dead zombies? Hell no. Even the Night of the Living Dead zombies, which, by the way, was talking about that the other day. Kind of a not great movie. I mean, it's cool for what it is. Like being the first, you know, Romero, like being the godfather of zombie movies. Like, it's a cool movie to watch once so that you know the history of it. And you're like, wow, this is where it all started. And we went from Night of the Living Dead, where like the last scene is them just... That's like the last scene. That's it. Because he's... That's, and the movie's in black and white. Did that mean that? Well, that didn't affect their vision, though. That's just how it ends. You're like, what? It's just like a militia. And you're like, huh? You're like, all right. Jesus, this is going to be a short episode. I'm fucking... Let's see if the email is going to open back up before I sign off here. Dude, it's not even. It's a complete black screen. I don't know. I don't. All right. I'm sorry about this, guys. Sorry about this, to send you into your weekend this way. If you are listening to this on Spotify, be sure to rate 5 stars. If you are watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe. Nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep primary control in check. I'll come back with... Monday's show will be better. I'm really in my head about this. Please don't make me feel better about this. But also, no, say whatever you're going to say. Say whatever you're going to say. I'm like deflecting backlash that hasn't even happened yet. Chill, dude. Da, 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 da. I will catch you guys in the next one.
Beautiful, beautiful. Primary control. Beautiful. Primary control. Beautiful. Primary control.